Welcome to Kerbal Space Program. So this is going to be episode 1 of a new series going through a Kerbal Space Program career mode. And I'm going to be trying to essentially complete the career, to plant a flag on every celestial body, and do all the, the regular career progression along the way. I'm going to be running mostly stock. I'm not using any major cheats or anything like that. I may do like some F5, F9 auto saves, for before sending a particularly large and complicated vessel into time warp, just as like Kraken insurance. But that's really it. I'm running only a very small, minimal number of mods, which I will show on the screen now. And as you can see, nothing especially crazy. The visuals are provided by the Environmental Visual Enhancements pack, which is always a big one. A notable thing that I'm running is a mod called Contract Configurator. It allows you to add custom imported contracts into the game, and I'm importing quite a few. I'm running some contracts that I've developed myself for like sending the first probe to another planet, things like that. And also I'm running a contract pack that's pretty significant. It's called Anomaly Surveyor. It gives you some contracts to go find the Easter eggs. And I've also added some custom contracts of my own to that pack to go find the Easter eggs like the crashed Tesla Roadster on Dress that were added into the most recent expansion for Kerbal. So I'm going to try and go through and get all those. I'm probably going to skip the rock arches on the moon, just because those are not especially interesting and they're kind of annoying to get to, frankly. But other than that, in addition to planting the flags, I'm going to try and get all of the Easter eggs. So this is a fresh career mode save, and you can look up at the top and see I did not start myself with any extra goodies. So very first thing we're going to do is we are going to pick up a couple of quick contracts. Oh, and you see, I've also got contracts to go find the extra launch sites that were added in, I think it was the most recent patch for KSP. So first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to complete the contract. Oh, I don't even need to do that. Well, you know what? We'll just do it this way. I want to complete the first contract for Gather Science, but I also would like to complete the first contract for Launch Our First Vessel. And thankfully, the Vostok-looking pod here comes with a built-in decoupler, which makes it a little bit more useful for some of these early missions. And we'll clip this in just a little bit. Okay. And this will allow us to get our first bit of science and also to launch our first vessel. So we'll complete a couple of initial contracts there. Now, one of the things that Contract Configurator does, it's an extremely powerful mod. And if you've never checked it out, you really should. There's a lot of good contract packs available for it. One of the things that Contract Configurator does, and I'm not even going to try and... Yeah. Is that it allows the custom contracts to have custom prerequisites. Like, for example, for a lot of the exploration ones, like to go find the pyramids in the desert here on Kerbin, before that contract is available, you must have reached space. So you have to escape the atmosphere once in order for that. So that's an example. And one of the reasons I wanted to launch my first vessel before collecting some other signs from around KSC, was simply to complete the requirement. I think a few of the contracts are locked behind launching your first rocket. Oh, sorry about that. Excuse me. Okay. And I think Yes, I can. Okay. And I'll take that data, and I will do an EVA report. Now, and we'll get back in and do another quick crew report, and we will recover. So in this career mode, I'm going to be doing a lot of aviation stuff before I really get too deep into the space exploration. One of the things I like to do, and it's just, I don't know, I guess it's kind of my particular variety of OCD kicking in or whatever. I like to try and get all of the to plant a flag at all of the Easter eggs on Kerbal before I go off and do a whole bunch of other like science exploration and put persisting vessels in orbit around the planet. And the reason is, and again, it might just be my particular kind of OCD or whatever. When I go into the tracking station, I like to have the list of flags, like for all the sights to see and everything on Kerbal, not interrupted by, oh well, there's a little satellite, that sort of a thing. And I think, okay, we already did that, so no oh, you know what? I could have did the goo experiment for a little extra diminishing returns, but that's okay. So this first little bit, you're going to see me doing a whole bunch of routine science collection from around the Kerbal Space Center. There is a lot of science to be had at KSC, because all of the individual buildings are their own science biomes and all of that. So that is definitely a very good source of science early on in the game. You're also going to see me doing some kind of weird stuff like this that might not immediately make sense. But the long story short is that I'm making this little guy to roll around and get some science for us from the airplane runway, and then to roll off onto the grasslands and get some science for us there. And you know what? Just for good measure, we'll fill up our thing. Just because we can. Not that it matters for rolling around. I don't think we'll. I don't believe we'll get any crew experience for this. All right, so let's get a crew report. And individually, these little things we're doing aren't getting us a tremendous amount of science points, but they do add up. They add up quite a bit over time. All right, so now this is the key. We're going to roll off of the runway, but we have to be very careful because we don't have auto struts or anything, and these bonds, the linkages between the command pods, are more fragile than they look, and this little science roller here can have a tendency to like blow up a little bit when it hits this edge on the edge of the grasslands. So we're going to be a little careful rolling off. Okay, good. And same thing with rolling a little bit out here into the shores. And let me see if we're actually on the shores. Okay, we are no longer on the runway. Because even where this terrain is perfectly flat, like if you just use full input for roll and just go zipping off, you can hit like a little imperfection in the terrain or whatever, or just hit a little bump and like bounce up into the air, and even just that slight little jolt will be enough to destroy that little thing we built when it lands. So that's not something we want to do. Another thing I'm going to do for this career save, I am not going to cheat to recover from disasters. So if I screw up and some of my crew get killed, I'm just gonna deal with that. And like if some of my crew gets stranded and they need to go be rescued, I'm just gonna deal with that. All right, so it looks like I might need to do. I don't think I have a decoupler. Oh, I do. Okay, good. And do we have... Yep. Now, even though we're not going into the leaving the atmosphere or anything, I compulsively like to try and use the heat shield, just as like a little extra buffer in case of like a rough touchdown or something like that. And these early little things we're doing, these are not intended to look pretty. I promise once things actually get rolling with the progression, I will be putting significantly more effort into actually trying to make these craft look good. Alright, so this is fine. And the purpose of this, I'm just going to throw this off into the water to get a little bit of extra science. I want to get that 45 science so that I can unlock the materials bay, which is a very good source of science early on. Because that's a good repeatable experiment with good diminishing returns. So here, the fins that we added onto this little booster are going to keep this kind of stable. And the gyro, the reaction wheel in our capsule there, our command pod, allowed us to kind of steer that off to the side. Now, another thing, this career mode isn't really going to be as much of like a step-by-step tutorial the way that the earlier series I did was. If you're new to Kerbal Space Program, before you get super deep into this series, you may wish to check out another quick little 4-part series I did, doing an absolute beginner's guide to Kerbal Space Program, where I go over like how the user interface works, how the controls work, how to upgrade all your buildings and all that sort of good stuff. And it's a tutorial going from absolute scratch up to like reaching orbit and getting the first start of the career mode. I'm not going to be explaining all of the minutia and the nitty-gritty detail early on. I'll do a little bit more of that once I get deeper into the career mode. But for right now, I'm just going to kind of be zipping through some of this stuff. But if you don't understand anything that I'm doing, feel free to drop a comment, and I'll see about getting an answer to that. Come on. Okay. That got us what we needed there. Yeah, there we go. The Science Junior. That's what we needed. So that Science Junior adds up a whole additional realm of goodies. And it also gives us this. The science container is an extremely important part. At least it is with my particular playstyle. All right. And I think, okay, yep, we got the landing legs. Not that they're going to matter too much right this second. We're going to call that up, down, 1. Okay. Now, the reason that science container is going to be super important for us is for retrieving things like the crew report, where in one mission, I'd like to be able to get a crew report from more than one place at a time. Like right now, we're in the air, right? I'd love to be able to get the crew report and get the science from that. However, having that in there is going to make it so that I can't collect the crew report once we splash down in the water. But now I've moved the crew report into the science container, so when we get into the water in a minute, we can do another one. Now my hope is, alright, looks like we're not quite going to make the water. My hope was that I was going to be splashed down in the shores biome. You might not realize it, depending on how long you've been playing KSP, but you can collect science from this area around Kerbal Space Center, right? It's the shores biome. You can see there from Kerbal Engineer showing what biome we're in, and our situation is flying low. You can also collect You can also collect science from being splashed down in the shores biome by going just a tiny bit into the water here off of the coast. And I may end up driving out into there. We'll see what happens. All right, so now we'll collect all of this. Crew report. All right, good. It looks like, we already got that, but just for good measure. All right, always check all that good stuff. Come on. All right, good. Now from that one little thing, we got some good science. And we're going to be getting close to our aviation, which is going to be a really important one for us. And we need 45 for that. Because unlocking aviation is going to enable a lot of other science for us to retrieve. And we'll get some diminishing returns there. And at the beginning of a career mode, I do a lot of this. I gather a lot of science from like right around the Kerbal Space Center to sort of give my space exploration a little bit of a jump start once I get going with it. Now, one thing I do want to mention, I have not done a Kerbal Space Program career mode playthrough in quite a while. So there is a good chance that I will make some mistakes because I am rusty. I haven't done a full career mode playthrough probably since I think it was like Making History, the expansion where they added in like the Soviet looking parts. I think that was the last time I did a full career mode where I actually went through and planted the flag on everything. So it has been a while. But I have been playing Kerbal Space Program since, I don't know, very early. Since one of the early patches where they first added like Duna as a planet. So I think that was like right after the initial like early access pre-release. So it's been quite a while I've been at Kerbal Space Program. Okay, good. Now we're over the grasslands. And same thing, we're going to get some of this crew report stuff. We're going to get some of this. All right, no diminishing returns there, and we've got that. And we're going to collect it all into here. All right, good. Now we're going to flip. And on some craft landings, I may go through in editing, and I may speed up some parachute landings just so you don't have to like sit there and watch for a minute, like a full minute as, one of these things comes down to land. I tend to like to deploy parachutes a little bit higher than I think some other people do, based on having seen the way some other people play, like in YouTube clips and on Twitch. And again, so now we're in a new biome. We're just going through getting the science. And what I'm going to be hoping to do here, I'm going to be trying to get enough science to unlock the first few aviation-related techs, so that I can make aircraft to go explore all of those Easter eggs that we discussed. All right, here we go. Now, this one's important. And the reason the aviation tech is important. One of the mods I'm running, by the way, moves landing gear, the retractable landing gear, down one level in tech. This small landing gear used to be up here. This medium landing gear used to be up here. And this large landing gear used to be up here with heavy landing for some reason, which I think is kind of dumb. That they grouped the top two in the same tech. So I moved the smaller landing gear down one. The mod that I'm running also adds in... Let me see if I can even find where they are. Yeah, these cargo bay parts. Nothing really game-breaking. And I also added in, and I don't know what tech they're with, a couple of custom, a 1.5 meter, or 1.5 meter and a 2.5 meter jet fuel tank, which were oddly missing from the stock list of parts. And I don't remember off the top of my head what tech gets that. It might be one of these upgraded flight techs. But anyway, they're in there somewhere. But aside from that, nothing really too crazy and game breaking. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a little... Oh, and I don't have general construction yet. That's going to be a limiting factor. What I'm going to be trying to do is make a little jet-powered rover. Close enough. That I can drive around and collect some science with. So this is going to be pretty basic, but that's fine. And a big limitation is we are limited to 30 parts in our first iteration of the space plane hangar here. And of course we need one of these. And do I have batteries yet? I do. Very important. All right. And we're going to save that. And this may backfire horribly. I haven't done one of these in quite a while. And I don't remember if those if the landing gear I used there can steer. Because normally I build this a little bit different once I have construction. Okay, it looks like it is going to let me steer. And I will probably speed up this portion of the video, because this is going to take me quite a while to get over to where I'm going. But once I get a couple of more techs unlocked, I'm going to repeat this process a couple of times. Okay, so the purpose of that, as you can see, was to collect little bits of science from all around Kerbal Space Center. Each one of these buildings is actually its own biome that you can collect unique science from. And that ends up being kind of a big deal. Alright, I think... Oh yeah, that might have moved a little bit. I'm just thinking out loud there. Alright, I suppose that'll be fine. Yeah, I need to get that eventually. I was just hemming and hawing about whether or not I wanted to get general construction. But those struts are just so important. Absolutely need that. So I'm going to go through and I'm going to make myself a slight modification that I realized after the fact I should have done. Okay. And I'm going to add, I think I have the parts to do it. I'm going to add one more layer of this stuff. Whoops. Want two of those. One more layer of all this. Alright, and now we can auto strut to root part. Good, and that'll give us a little bit of rigidity there. And I think, yeah, that should be ready to go. But let me, I always like to do that. Alright, and so again, I'm probably going to speed this up a little bit. I'm just going to go through and collect some more science from a couple more of the buildings. Okay, so you can see there we're moving right up in science. Now I'm going to do that one more time, but I'm going to launch the rover off of the rocket launch pad instead. And I think, there we go. I think this will be the correct orientation. I want to send it down the causeway because the causeway is its own separate biome, and pick up the vehicle assembly building at the same time. And I'll get some slight diminishing returns off of the launch pad. Alright, so here we go. Okay, that was not planned, but that is one of the risks of driving around at the Kerbal Space Center. But I just barely made it into the vehicle assembly building biome, so this will actually work. That could have been very bad. That could have been extremely bad, what just happened there. But I got lucky. And get our EVA report. Okay, but yeah, so those are the risks of driving around in one of these like primitive jet-powered science collection rovers. Sometimes you hit a bump and things don't go well. Okay, 119, so that's good. And I will do that again once I get a little bit further into the tech tree. But for right now, the main stuff I wanted to get is some of these aerodynamic technologies. And I need 45 for flight control. That right there, that Delta Deluxe winglet, and these AVR8 winglets are very important. So what I think I'm going to do... Oh, no, wrong one. I hope if I click the right building. Alright, escape the atmosphere. Not yet. But I don't think I've done the material study and collected all that from out on the water. So I'm going to give that a shot and see what we get. Whoops. Oh, it didn't save it, because I guess I actually didn't save that. That's interesting. Okay, well that was an oversight on my part. But live and learn, I suppose. Alright. Whoops. Yeah, so again, the basic idea that we're going for here is going to be just to launch this out into the water. And again, we got to watch our part totals. And the primary objective for this is to get the science lab, the material study here, from the water. But we can also get some slight diminishing returns from a few of these other science experiments. Okay, so there, now we're gonna... Yeah, up, down, one. Alright. Now we're saved there, so that's good. Okay, and we've still got just these really basic... How many parts we're doing? Alright, we're doing good on parts. We've still just got these really basic... Yeah. Really basic engine parts. No liquid fuel rockets yet. We don't have the back thumper, the BACC thumper booster there, which is horribly inefficient, but it's actually very useful early in the career mode, just because it has a good amount of fuel. And so again, we can get some slight diminishing returns out of that, 1.6. It may not seem like a lot, but those little bits of science do add up. Alright. We are over the water, and we are flying. I don't think we've got a crew report. No, we didn't. Okay. And, you know, sometimes the parachute cords are not super sturdy when you're in time warp, if you're up on level 4. Yeah, so I frequently like to slow down the time warp before the parachutes open. It's been more of a problem for me with parts mods. With parachutes from parts mods, but I have occasionally had the parachute snap on me if it deploys while I'm under time acceleration, which is not a fun thing to have happen. Alright, and moment of truth. Okay, good. I had not collected that yet, so that was full reward, not a diminishing return. And the rest of this, I'm sure, is all just going to be... Yep. Now this can be risky, and I'm gonna risk it. All right. That was some choppy water there. Oh, got me 45 exactly. How convenient. Because from here, I'm going to start doing a few of these other things. And what do we have for active? All right, we only have that. And we'll do investigate the cove. I think that one is right near here. And we're going to make ourselves a little jet plane to start exploring with. And this may end up looking quite familiar to some people when it's done. That's okay. But I've found that this particular design is very well suited to an early Kerbal Space Program like career progression vehicle. So you can get a snicker in at what we're building here if you end up recognizing it. Alright, that'll be good there. And, I'm going to want to start doing a couple of auto struts with a few of these. There we go. Okay, so this is where the part count gets really important. Oh yeah, and I better make sure that was a single, not a double. Because again, the individual part count absolutely matters very much. Gonna need some elevators and some ailerons. Just boost the pitch a little bit. Okay. And for some completely unknown mystery reason, we'll call this the farmer. That sounds good. Okay, that's good there. And we're definitely going to need a drag parachute for landing. It doesn't look pretty, but... oh, come on. That'll actually end up being extremely important. And... okay, I think I've got everything. And it's the exact part count. Oh. Once I make that a double, the exact part count will be 30. And it's almost as if I've made this exact aircraft a whole bunch of times in career modes before. Imagine that. Okay. Now we will test for airworthiness and weight and balance. Now, taking off on the dirt runways is always a challenge. Before you've upgraded the runway, it's not especially structurally sound, and so that can be a bit of an issue. The takeoff can be a little bumpy, and in a plane like this with a very narrow undercarriage, it can be tricky. Because this happens, you wobble a little bit longitudinally. And as you can see, our farmer plane ends up being a very stable design for the most part. And so what we're doing here, we're flying up to get the discovery credit for one of the additional launch sites that you can unlock. In the most, well, I shouldn't say the most recent, in the final update patch for Kerbal Space Program, because they're working on KSP2. They added in some of these extra launch sites that you can discover on Kerbin, and if you fly by it, you can discover the launch site, and then you can launch rockets from those extra launch pads on other parts of the planet. And the first one is right up here, right near the Kerbal Space Center. Yep, there it is. I think we're right down here. Yeah, we found a new launch site. That was the contract completion. I think we get another message like up here when we actually fly by this and get a little closer. Yep, there it is. Yep, we found the Cove launch site. Okay. And so now I want to navigate down to the island airfield. And we'll land there and collect a little bit of science, unlock the island airstrip, and complete the exploration contract for that, which I think is the one that unlocks the exploration for the Monolith contracts. And you know, another good thing about this design here, the farmer, it's very cheap. So, like, if I end up in a bad situation and I have to bail out of this or something, and abandon the plane, it doesn't really matter. I don't lose a lot because this is an inexpensive vehicle. And very early in the career mode, that actually matters a lot because, you know, I didn't do any money cheats or anything like that, and I haven't completed a whole lot of contracts. So, you know, I don't have the funding to like upgrade any of my buildings or anything. So that's an issue. And the first thing that I'm going to upgrade is going to be my, believe it or not, it's going to be my crew center. And the reason for that is I want to be able to plant flags and collect EVA surface samples. So that's an expensive upgrade, and it consumes a lot of my early space program money. But again, the main idea behind doing that is that I want to tag all of the Easter eggs, like the UFO crash site up in the Arctic and all that. And I want to plant a flag on all those. All right, this is a little bit fast for a landing, but that's fine. And this is why we take the drag chute. All right, a little easier doing it that way. And we're going to shut down these engines just for safety. All right, we'll collect some science. Yeah, the island airfield counts as its own little biome. So we get a little extra boost there. Now, in order to complete the exploration contract, we have to first we can ditch the helmet and ditch the next neck ring. We have to go find the old command pod over here in the hangar. It's a nice little Easter egg. If you haven't played Kerbal Space Program, like for 10 years, this part here and like these extra little fuel tanks, this is what the command pod and like the early rocket engines and stuff used to look like. Back in like the early beta and stuff like that. So I think it's fun that they kind of threw those in this like derelict, abandoned little airfield out on the island. And we also have to climb to the top of the control tower. And that's fine. And going up this control tower always reminded me of that scene in Final Fantasy VII where you're climbing up the stairs in the Shinra building. And it just takes forever because you have to go up like 60 flights of stairs. That's another game I haven't played through in far too long. I've got the 3D remake of Final Fantasy VII, but I haven't really played through it yet. The action RPG style like that isn't really so much my thing. I usually prefer like the turn-based combat model that the original one used, but I'll go through and play it eventually. But anyway, so here we go. So we're up in the control tower that has grass up in here. It's like overgrown and derelict. So we'll recover our crew guy. We completed that contract, and then we're going to have to go into the tracking center and recover our MiG-9. Our farmer plane. That is landed down at the airfield. Good, we got some science out of it, so that was good. All right. So again, I believe that should have unlocked or will eventually unlock some additional contracts. I don't know, we might have to escape the atmosphere and get into space before that one unlocks. So you know what? We can actually do that now. Two science, really? Two science. Luckily, we can probably get some quick and easy diminishing returns out of a couple of these experiments. Maybe not from the runway. Yeah, there's already 0.4. And we can probably get all the way to the grasslands on this. Down we go. All right. So with luck, we'll be able to get a couple of points of diminishing returns science. All right, 1.6. All right, good. That should get us what we need so we can get that slightly larger solid rocket booster, because I just want to, literally, I'm just going to throw a probe core up into space. Oh, you know what? That first probe core, I don't think it has the stability assist. I might actually have to do the regular space capsule. Yeah, the little Sputnik core here. Oh. Let's just check that. It does not. But all right. So we'll have to do a real basic kind of a science capsule. And I'm actually gonna... Well, do I want to... Yeah, why not? So this won't be enough to like get into orbit or anything like that, but this should be able to get us up past 70,000 meters. Maybe. It's been a while. And again, the purpose with doing this mission is just to unlock like some contract prerequisites. And we'll see what we get. Okay, good. That'll easily get us up above the Kármán line. And we're literally just going straight up. Whoop. And I'm actually not gonna... Oh, I've only got a second. All right, well... I had wanted to get, I can get the crew report in a second. I had wanted to get all the science from the upper atmosphere biome while I was here. And I'll get the material study from Space Near Kerbal at another point. Alright, so now we're back in the atmosphere. Just coming straight down. And we'll have completed that milestone. Oh, you know what? I don't remember if I had remembered to get the contract for Escape the Atmosphere. I hope that I did. I did not, because I'm dumb. Alright. Well, we got the reached space anyway. We missed out on some funding. I think that's all that means, having missed out on that contract. We lost a little bit of money from that. But won't be the end of the world. Because, again, the point between doing that was to unlock some of the extra contracts that'll let us go, like, explore the pyramids, the crashed UFO site, and some of that other stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I missed it. But that's fine. Alright, so now we can get some of these other contracts. We're going to do the magnetic anomaly and the historical site. There's a small Robert Goddard liquid fuel rocket at the desert airfield that we're going to check out in a minute. And doing these is also going to give us a good funding boost, because I need to upgrade this to allow Kerbals to plant flags. And I am going to need to upgrade this to get more contracts in a couple of minutes. For right now... we're literally just going to go over to the Monolith and get the exploration credit for that. And that'll unlock, I think, the contracts for the other monoliths. And yeah, this is going to be a little tricky. So there are a couple of monoliths that are in fixed locations around the solar system, right? I believe there's one on Minmus that is in a fixed location. There are 4 on Kerbin. I think there's 3 on the moon, I think. But throughout the rest of the solar system, if memory serves, the game places one random green monolith in a random location on each celestial body. You can find out where those are by using the KerbNet satellite functionality, by building like some scanning satellites and orbiting the planet and all that. So we'll go through, and I'll probably do that. I mean, I realize that all the objectives I'm doing in this career mode, this is probably going to be a very long, ongoing series, and I'm actually kind of hopeful for that, because I really love Kerbal Space Program. This is, one of my favorite games of all time, no question. Okay, good. And I really want to be able to share this with you folks. Alright, so now I'm going to do the same thing from the desert launch site. And the other benefit to doing some of these like aviation exploration contracts early on in the career mode here, I know this isn't like super exciting yet, we're not into all the rockets and all that just yet. But going through and doing some of this aviation stuff early, we unlock a lot of money and a lot of science. So that when we start our space exploration, we have a massive head start, and we can do some more elaborate space missions very early on in the career mode. And so I think the rocket is literally, whoa, uh-oh. Abort. Uh-oh. Okay, that could have been much worse. Okay, so yeah, I think the rocket prototype we're going for is literally just over here on the ground. So I guess we're just gonna walk. And yeah, that sort of thing, that will absolutely happen. When I know that, like, because I've watched some Kerbal Space Program content from like other folks on YouTube and all that. I know that, and like Twitch, especially on Twitch, I know that there's a lot of folks out there who fly very high precision, very super careful, super deliberate, very refined, Kerbal Space Program flights. I'm not one of those people. I enjoy the sort of goofy, fly it by the seat of your pants, like atmosphere and ambience of the game. You will absolutely see more boosters be a solution to problems rather than minor tweaks to like weight and balance and things like that. So there will be explosions along the way. And there will be junk littered all over the desert airport. Alright. So we'll complete that contract for a little bit of extra money. And we'll collect the leftover cockpit. What's left of it. Yeah, so see, we haven't even, like, we've barely gone into space. Right? But look at that. We have $250,000 funds. I might just call it, like, dollars or whatever. But we've got almost $250,000 funding. And look at how far we are into the tech tree. And we haven't even orbited the planet. So I'm a huge fan of doing some of this stuff a bit early, you know, into the game. Right, yeah, see, I kind of wanted... That'll have to do. Yeah, well, you know, I'm going to get a bunch of extra stuff out of aviation anyway. So it doesn't hurt to get some of these parts a little sooner. So for electrics, this is a really important one for doing the solar panel and the probe core with the stability assist control module in it. This is like critical. Actually, this battery too, but this is like critical for early game space missions. And the next one that's going to be really important is advanced construction to get payload fairings. Oh yeah, there's my larger fuselage things. Is to get these payload fairings and some of these other like decouplers and nose cones. This is a very important tech to get. So alright, so let's go and look at our contracts. Oh, we still need to upgrade. Alright. So no pyramids just yet. Maybe if I'm hoping... No. Oh, there it is. Structures in Kerbin's Desert. So that'll get us the pyramids. The TMAs. Let me see if it's going to show me on here which one is which. Right, TMA 1 is the one right near Kerbin. And we're going to get that, and we're going to just parachute onto it. TMA 2 is the one at Baikonur, or I think they call it like Baikonur or something. And then there's the one up north, and then there's the one down here on the mountain. I'm just sort of planning like my first couple of missions. To get this one, in the mountains near Kerbal Space Center, I usually honestly just bail out and parachute down. So I'll grab that one first. So grab the rest of these here. Arctic crash site, not due until later. Alright, these ones... Yeah, these are all over on the other side of the planet. So I'm not going to be getting those till later. I don't remember where the crashed space probe is. So I guess we'll find out. And I'll pick this one up now just for good measure. But alright. So now, I'm going to use my trusty MiG-9. Am I? No, I'm not. I'm going to be a little bit more simplistic. Because this does not have to be a very stable aircraft or anything, because it's not going to get reused or have to go very far or anything like that. So, I mean, yeah. This is going to be as basic as it gets. And again, because the point with this particular one is I'm just going to bail out of it. And so the idea is to get the cost down as low as possible. Okay. And you know what I want to do? I want to hire one more pilot just in case. All right, this guy is crazy brave. Look at that, Reyes. Man, you are a dumbass, and we're gonna have a lot of fun with you. All right, we'll put you in this one, and well, yeah, I kind of like that. We'll put you in that one there. And Reyes is crazy brave. And I'm not going to risk Jebediah or Valentina on something like this that could very easily go very wrong. Because this is definitely going to be a high-risk sort of a mission. There's a good chance that this will explode on the runway because of the low-profile gear. There's a chance that, yeah, that might not even work now that I'm looking at it on the runway. There's a good chance that this guy might die when he lands. I might screw that up. So this is going to be very high risk. So I'm not going to risk my good crew on it. Okay. All right, that worked. So here we're literally just going to fly over to the Monolith, bail out of this jet, and parachute down. And landing at this particular Monolith is actually kind of difficult because it's on a cliff. Like, I should say that differently. It's not on a cliff, it's on a slope. Like, it's on the side of the mountain. There's nowhere flat to land. So it ends up being kind of difficult to get a stable landing without killing your Kerbal. And, you know, let me just take a second to say how absolutely beautiful the environmental visual enhancements pack looks with, like, the high-res textures and scatterer and all the terrain occlusion and all that stuff. My goodness, that's great. Alright, so we're going to go down and get a visual survey just to verify that I think that's it there. It's here somewhere. That's one of the downsides of the good visuals on this pack, is that a few of these things are a little bit difficult. Okay, that might be it right there. Yep, it looks like that is it. So get ready to jump. Woo-doo! Okay. So the tricky thing here is landing in a spot where it's going to be stable enough, but that will still get the exploration credit for finding the monolith. Let me try something here. I don't know if we have to actually be touched down in order to get the credit. Okay, good. All right, so now I'm going to try just going up over here. Am I going to make it? Uh-oh. Okay. Whew. All right, this is very unstable terrain. I'm going to call this close enough. I'm going to plant the flag before I slide off the edge of the mountain here. Okay, so we've completed that. That was a little hairy. That's one of the riskier ones. Okay, good. So we did get the full credit. Now I'm going to fast forward to daylight before I get the next one. The next one I'm going to be going for is the one that is directly north of Kerbal Space Center. And same thing, we'll go with Reyes again, because he worked out relatively well. And you know what? I was getting some pretty heavy pilot-induced oscillation on Time Warp. And I don't want to fly this thing apart, because this is not an especially refined vehicle. And you know what? Speaking of which, I'm going to auto-strut that, just for good measure. Come on, come on. Ooh. Okay. I hit my button to retract gear. Force of habit. Alright. So the good news about this little plane is that even though it's really primitive and kind of sucks, it's got like no weight, so it's going to be relatively fast. It's going to be unrealistically fast running on that turbofan engine. Like, unrealistically supersonic. But that's fine, that's fine. And this is going to take a minute, so I'll probably speed this up. And in fact, with some of these early aviation missions, when I go through and do these, I am going to speed up the footage just so that, you know, because some of these, like flying down to this one here and like the crashed Sputnik probe that are literally on like the opposite end of the planet. I mean, it's going to take like 10, 15 minutes at least to fly out to those. So I'll speed those up like 50x or whatever, so that the flight's only going to take, 10 seconds instead of 10 minutes. Okay, so we are here. We have arrived at... We've arrived at the crater where the monolith is. And we're going to fly down and get a quick look. And then we're going to parachute in. Come on. There it is. All right. And again, we're just going to fly down and do our thing. This one should be a little easier. The other ones, the other monoliths, are a bit more simple. The one that's off on like the mountain on the other side of the planet has like a flat mountaintop you can land in. And the other one, oh no! Oh no! Oh no! Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Oh, I didn't actually expect to bump into it. My goodness. Okay. Whoo. Yeah, but like I was saying, the other one over at like the Space Center has a lot of flat land you can land in. All right, so it's going to be TMA2-Kerbal. I just want to format these the same. I can't believe I bumped into it. Okay. All right, good. And we've got some decent science. Whoop. And we've been making good income off of doing these contracts, exploring the planet. So that's actually really important, especially for like upgrading some of our facilities. That'll become a very important thing later. And we've been getting some good science research. So let me go through and double check if there's any of this that I want to get now. This is tempting. Advanced construction, super important. I think that's probably going to be the one. But on the other hand, the landing gear is really important for making some of the more longer range aircraft. So I think that is probably going to be the winner for right now. And I should have enough to be able to get advanced construction easily before we actually get up into orbit. But in any case, so I'm going to call the episode here. We've been going for almost an hour and a half, not including any time acceleration I do in editing. And my goal for these episodes is going to be about 90 minutes each. So this is going to be a convenient place to take a break. And in the next episode, hopefully we'll clear out most or all of the rest of those aviation contracts. So, as always, thanks for watching.